Ladies and gentlemen, in the most precious and glorious holy name of Jesus Christ, the Lord and Savior of the world in whom I put my trust, Namaste from Manantavadi. The great service rendered by nurses and other health workers all over the world, irrespective of time and space, creed and color, race and shape, is a participation in the creative act of God and in His continuing providence extended to His creation. For even while God remained the Creator, He has entrusted the care and cure of the whole creation, in particular of human beings, whom He has created in His own image and likeness, and into whom He has breathed His own breath to the fellow human beings themselves. Therefore, nurses are truly called angels, whom God makes use of to run His errands and execute His plans and orders. God asked Cain, the elder son of Adam and Eve, "Where is your brother?" That question was an indirect way of telling him that he was to be the keeper of his brother. So Cain rightly retorts with a counter question: "I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper?" Yes, the nurses and other healthcare workers have taken up that mission entrusted by God in a specific manner to be the keepers of other fellow human beings. On this International Day of Nurses and other healthcare workers, I proudly salute them and pray and pay my sincere tributes to those heroic frontline warriors. The founder of modern nursing training and practice is Florence Nightingale. Though she was born in Florence, Italy, she was a British citizen. She took with her a group of 38 nurses from England to Constantinople, that is called today Istanbul in Turkey, during the Crimean War that took place between 1853 and 1856, between Russia on one side and an alliance of France, UK, Sardinia, and the Ottoman Empire, the predecessor of today's Turkey, to take care of the wounded soldiers. As she reached there, what she saw in the military camps that were set up as makeshift hospitals was horrible. So the first thing she did was to clean up the whole mess in the campus. Even now, cleanliness Even now, the cleanliness is an inviolable rule in treatment centers. We Indians need yet to learn much more in that respect. The Indian standard of cleanliness is not cleanliness at all. Corona has taught us a lot in this respect. That is Nightingale, was there in India too to set up the first nurses training institute at St. Stephen's Hospital in Delhi. It's her birthday. A little down for the novel. Yeah. It's her birthday on May 12, 1820, that is commemorated as International Nurses Day, honoring her founding role in modern nursing. Today would be her 200th birthday, so I expect to hear even more about her from other speakers. She died in Mayfair, London on 13th August 1910. Nightingale was awarded with the Royal Red Cross Award and the Order of Merit for his meritorious and pioneering service in medical field. She is nicknamed Lady with the Lamp because in those days there was no electricity and electrolyte. So she would carry always a always at night a kerosene lamp with her while she roamed about the wards where the patients lay. The following are some of her famous sayings. I attribute my success to this. I never gave or took any excuse. So this should be a great lesson for us. Never take any excuse for not doing anything. Second is how very little can be done under the spirit of fear. Yes, those who are afraid of things, especially of blood and filth, cannot do anything in the nursing field. I know one of my relatives, a boy, who passed his nursing profession, but he says, I'm afraid of looking at blood, so he's not a nurse. When there are none who were discontented with what they have, the world would never reach anything better. That means there should be someone discontented with everything that we have. Only then we will try for a better thing. That is what Nightingale did. It may seem a strange principle to enunciate as the very first requirement in a hospital that it should do the sick no harm. The sick people come to the hospitals not to be harmed, but to be cured and healed. So in some places, they are getting just opposite treatment. The world is put back by the death of everyone who has to sacrifice development of his or her particular peculiar gifts to conventionality. That means if you stick on to the traditional thing, conventional thing, you are not going to renovate, bring in new things. FEDAR Foundation, for example, is a novelty, it's a new thing. Many may not understand what it's, but you will see it later. As you know, in the beginning, given the particular nature of nursing profession, nurses were not allowed to marry as long as they were in service. In Kerala also, the situation was not different. It was Srimati K.R. Gevri who went for her eternal rest yesterday that fought for their right to marry while continuing in active service. Interestingly, in the early days of nursing, here in Kerala, it was very hard for the nurses in service for getting a marriage partner, owing to the very conservative outlook of our families that jealously safeguarded their aristocratic status. According to them, nursing was too degrading for their children because in those days, hospitals were rare. People went to the Natu Vaidyas, for their Ayurveda things. We in India, in general, or in Kerala, the Christian missionaries from abroad, were the first ones to introduce modern nursing practices and training centers. It was Bishop Bensiger of Ceylon who brought the first nurses from Switzerland at the request of the Maharaja of Travancore, who in turn was persuaded by his royal physician, Dr. Porunnedom. The religious sisters who came from Switzerland began their ministry at Trivandrum Royal Hospital, which is now the medical college. So the sisters are even now called sisters. The nurses are even now called sisters by us. They have also a sort of veil that we call cap today. The tradition has continued and still continues with the local Christians also. The thousands of nurses in India, especially from Kerala, who are working all over the world, is a direct result of such intervention on the part of various Christian churches and religious congregations. The nurses from Kerala, especially from the various Christian communities, have profited very much from some such institutions, and they are very much sought after all over the world. Father Noble, a little up. Yeah, a little more. Yeah, go ahead, a little more up. Yeah, thank you. Nurses save all persons irrespective of their differences of whatever nature. Jesus said, love not only your brother, but your enemies too. So a nurse or a healthcare worker does not ask for the race or religion of the patient. That person can be his or her enemy or from an enemy country. But that has no significance for the nurse and healthcare worker. They are there to care and heal them. That is the kind of work being done by nurses and other healthcare workers. Therefore, it is just and right that a day is specifically set apart to remember and honor them with our tributes. May all nurses and other healthcare workers, wherever they are, irrespective of their differences of whatever nature, be blessed by God, who has entrusted to them the divine mission of caring of their fellow human beings. The world is currently passing through an unprecedented crisis that has wrought havoc in the whole world. The pandemic, COVID-19, does not distinguish between the rich and the poor, the haves and the have-nots. All are equal before that unseen small creature called coronavirus, against which the whole humanity is fighting. Fight against a known enemy is far easier than fighting a guerrilla warrior, fighting from an unknown place without revealing anything about himself. In this fight, the frontline soldiers are certainly the nurses and other healthcare workers. Being in the front line involves a lot of risk, even the risk of getting killed by the enemy. But the valiant soldier forgets everything else. He has in front of him nothing but the enemy, who is to be fought against and destroyed. The photos of nurses and other healthcare workers that regularly appear in the media of all sorts surpasses all our imagination. After long hours, at times even days of uninterrupted hard work, exhausted in mind and body, they get to sleep even on the bare floor of their duty stations. In their duty uniform, sometimes under the tables, leaning one on the other. It's really, really heartbreaking scene. They are expected to be constantly on the move, fully covered in the protective gear, at times even gasping for some fresh air, let alone longing for some time to eat and drink to replenish themselves before the next attack. Many have succumbed to the deadly virus, some very young, leaving behind their bereaved husbands and wives and their tiny toddlers and parents. Prophet Isaiah foretold about the Messiah of God. He himself was wounded because of our iniquities. He has bruised because of our wickedness. The discipline of our peace was upon him, and by his wounds we are healed. Isaiah 53, verse 5. Yes, the present crisis is the price that we are paying for our wickedness and indiscipline to a great extent. We have seen that yesterday during the burial of a great politician here in Kerala. They think that the corona will not come when politicians are being buried. Yes. We have come to know from the media that those sisters and brothers who are risking their lives caring for the COVID patients are at times not permitted even to enter their villages, or others are afraid that they bring the coronavirus to the village. It is inhuman, is it not? They deserve our respect, our loving consideration. And it isn't pain, indeed. We are healed by the wounds of the nurses and the healthcare workers. Those who studied in St. John's Medical College, Bangalore, know that this last phrase is written on the logo of the college. Dear nurses and other healthcare workers all over the world, we are healed by your wounds. We are ever grateful to you and pray for your well-being. We all be protected from all iniquities under the wings of the Lord. Even while we shout our praises to those sisters, brothers, by whose wounds we are healed, we need to be aware of the reality that they are fulfilling their God-given mission for making a living for themselves and their families, who are eagerly waiting for their payslip at the end of the month. It is a matter of fact that the nurses and other healthcare workers of their states are underpaid in India. I am aware of the inequality existing in the salary system of the unprivileged class of healthcare workers in India, especially in the private sector. Only when the ruling dispensation is ready for regulating the pay scales of the higher echelons of the hierarchy of healthcare workers and bring in some sort of a parity to the pay scale of those of the higher echelons, this injustice can be corrected. I hope you understand what I meant. To say the least, it is totally unfair that the lion's share of the revenue of healthcare institutions go to one group alone. The institutions are compelled to entertain their demands, those in the higher echelons of the hierarchy of healthcare workers, and keep them satisfied because the inflow of patients and ultimately the existence of the institution itself depends mainly on them. The newly incorporated futuristic education the Research Foundation, for short called FEDAR Foundation, under the auspices of the Catholic Christ Mananthavadi, is a novel undertaking meant mainly as a guide to the various educational and skill development needs of the members of the diocese. It is very much fitting that this international webinar is organized under its patronage to honor the nurses and other healthcare workers. Best wishes and congratulations to our foundation. God bless you all. Have a great evening. Thank you.